To make an asymmetrical weapon in OnShape, we're going to first start with a sketch. Toss it on your plane, go normal to your plane. Draw your outside diameter. Now draw your weapon shape. Doink. Oops. Something like that. Oops, that looks bad. There we go. I'm going to mirror that. Put in our pivot. Now, as it stands, this is probably not going to be particularly well balanced. Just visually, you can see that there's probably more weight on this side than this side, but in a second, we're going to actually dial that in. First thing we're going to do is we're going to extrude it. So say we're making a 1/4 inch weapon. Next thing we need to do is assign a material to it. So that way you can actually start calculating the mass. Let's just call it some sort of hardened alloy steel. Now let's get rid of these planes because they're annoying. All right, now we have to find a weapon and it has a mass. We click on this little display mass properties icon in the bottom corner, then select. We'll just make sure we're normal to the top plane. Here we have our mass and we have our MOI values. Since we're pivoting around the z-axis, you can see here, we'd be looking at the LZZ value for our MOI if we're doing any calculations or concerned about that. If we're not, then we'll ignore that and we'll look at our mass to make sure our weapon has the right mass. And now let's worry about our center of gravity. So this little black and white dot is our center of gravity. We can see that it's quite a bit higher than the actual origin, which is where the center of our pivot is. Two things we could do. We could move our pivot, or we can balance our weapon. I think it's easier to balance the weapon, so that's what we're going to do. This is going to be a little bit of just hunt and peck kind of thing. So trial and error. There's other ways to do it, but this is the way that I usually do it. And once you get the hang of it and you start to be able to visually balance things, it goes pretty quick. We're going to go back into our sketch. We will look at this and we'll think, well, we need more weight on this side. So now let's just arbitrarily reduce some weight on this side by making this side a little bit smaller. And let's bring the mass out here on this side a little bit like that. Now we're going to go back and we'll take a look. Doink, doink. All right, we're actually getting really close with that first little pass. Let's zoom in here. This little dot is on the y-axis above it by 0.6 millimeters. I try to get this as small as possible. So 0.02, 0.01. I think probably anywhere under 5 thousandths is okay. So let's go back and edit this again. Let's just add a tiny bit more mass here. This is where dimensions can come in handy because now we can like increment things pretty delicately. So let's just bump this up by 0.5 millimeter to 50.5, make it a little bit fatter there. We're getting closer, 0.848. Let's go back. Let's make that 52. See what that did for us. All right, now we're a little bit under. See, we have negative, so now it's a little bit below the origin if we zoom in. Right now, this is really close, but it's not quite perfect, so let's see if we can't dial it in a tiny bit more. That's approaching pretty darn close. 0.2 millimeter. Oh, we went over. Okay, tiny bit over. Whoa, boy, let's not do that. Oops. Now, I'm going to keep doing this, but for the most part, you can just kind of see where this is headed. Basically, we're just going to keep tweaking these tiny little values until we get happy with it. For now, we're going to leave it at that, and we're happy enough with it. Now, this is not an optimized weapon shape. That's not at all what I'm thinking about here. It's mainly how to build an asymmetrical weapon quickly in OnShape and balance it. That's the end.